Welcome to my homemaking day in the life with me and my large family. Today happened to be leap day along with a very wet and stormy day, so we stayed inside making warm comfort food together and tried a new sourdough beet powder recipe along with pumpkin scones and mac and cheese. After leaving my nursing career to stay home with my kids to homestead and homeschool, I try to find ways to make ordinary things like laundry and changing diapers fun. Come hang out with me as I show you what a homemaking day on our small urban homestead looks like for us. So I don't know about you, but one of my biggest challenges as a stay-at-home mom is my mornings. I am just not a morning person, and I need all the help I can get to get up in the morning. This Master Tonic right here is to help support your adrenal and immune system and basically overall wellness. And I put it in my coffee every morning. I just kind of started this a couple weeks ago because I used to work night shift for over a decade. And so these early mornings are just not my forte. And I know what stress can do to the body. So I really recommend that you do something like with an adaptogenic and an adaptogenic herb to help you. So this is early. My kids are always starving when they wake up, and apples, bananas, things like that is what I give them first thing so that it can tide them over until I can actually make breakfast. If you like to use recipes that have buttermilk in it, but you really don't ever keep it in your kitchen, this buttermilk powder here that I get from Azure Standard is amazing. It's literally a lifesaver. I don't have to worry about buttermilk going bad in my fridge because it's just 3 tablespoons in cold water, and then voila, you have buttermilk at any time, and I'm not wasting things. So what we're making here is pumpkin scones. We actually defrosted some pumpkin that you see here from our garden last year. We took it out of the freezer the night before, and it's delicious. And just knowing that it's from our garden just made it that much better personally. I don't know about you, but all that hard work that goes into everything just makes it that much sweeter. So my daughter here is 11. She just loves to be in the kitchen, so she loves to work side by side with me. And that was a giant bottle of vanilla extract that I've made. It is done. I've just kind of let the vanilla beans sit in there. And this recipe called for the vanilla beans, and that was the best I had. And it worked out just fine. So again, just use what you have. And then this is freshly milled flour. The recipe did call for wheat flour, and we just decided to use what we had left of the freshly milled flour. And so we're going to have to kind of adapt this recipe to that, which you'll see here is it took a little bit of time because essentially we did the dough to the specifications. It was more like a batter than a dough. So I put it in the fridge to give the freshly milled flour time to absorb the liquid. It didn't do that very much. It was still pretty batter-like. So you'll see here that I'm just going to be adding more and more flour to it until it looks correct. This is a breakfast bar, I guess that you could say, that my daughter made the day before. It called for raspberries, but we had frozen strawberries from our garden. So ta-da, that's what we used. And then I just added some powdered sugar on top of it, and it was delicious. And then, of course, I don't expect scones to be a full breakfast, so I'm just starting some scrambled eggs for the kids, and these are eggs from our chickens in the backyard, so you can't really get much fresher than that. These are maybe a couple days old, and they're actually starting to lay some clean eggs since we actually had a break in the rain for just a little bit. And I generally put salt, pepper, maybe some onion powder in there, sometimes some paprika or oregano, different things like that. I love to incorporate herbs into my cooking, which, it's a different dose than if you are using it for medicinal purposes, but it definitely helps your body out altogether. My daughter took over because the baby started crying, and she just loves to help me in the kitchen. So here I'm just adding more of the freshly milled flour, just trying to see if I can get it to a more dough-like consistency. And you'll notice it does take me a little while. I think I added probably 3/4 more cup to this, so almost double what it said for the whole wheat flour. But it tasted delicious, and this was a nice little learning experiment. We are trying to learn to use our grain mill a lot more. I've only used it a few times personally, but I am enjoying it so far. So now I did put it back in the fridge again just to kind of let it cool down again, because it does have the cut in butter, and you do want that, keep that as chilled as possible so it has the flaky goodness that the butter gives your dough. But it worked out really well. This was my first time actually making scones too, so I'm tickled pink about this. Pretty proud of me and my daughter here. But you'll notice that I really need to take math again, because when I start cutting it for 12 pieces, I shouldn't have done that right there. I should have done the half and then anyways, but it worked out because the littles got tiny little pieces and weren't scared off by the ginormous pieces that I cut. But the glaze essentially is just powdered sugar, milk, and some vanilla, and it was delicious. I don't think we had any leftovers. I think my husband, who even doesn't like any sweet stuff, ate 2 of these. So after the kids were done eating and I was getting a break from the baby, I think maybe he was on the floor playing or something like that. He's a little mover at 4 months. But anyways, I came in here to get his diaper laundry sorted and put away. It'd been sitting there for a couple days, and I was already about to have to do another load. So I was just taking this opportunity to do that. If you don't know what cloth diapering is, I do have a couple videos of that already done. Cloth diapering is just a super eco-friendly, and it's super inexpensive once you get started, over the longevity, everything like that. I go over all that in my other videos and even how to clean them, but I just absolutely love them. So if you're interested in learning more about it, just check out my other videos. So here my daughter is shredding some cheese because she had asked to make stovetop mac and cheese. You can see I am really trying to be careful with pouring out the boiling water from the pasta with my 4-month-old strapped to me. It is definitely an art, this baby wearing that I do. And this is a super simple recipe. It's in Jill Winger's cookbook, I believe, Prairie Homestead. I'll link it down below. It is a different type of mac and cheese. It's very simple. I didn't have to make like a roux with the flour and butter. It actually called for, as you just saw, sour cream and then some mustard and salt, and I believe some like other like paprika and things like that. It's very, very simple, and it's seriously one pot. I added some protein to it because we also had this for dinner. That's one of my tricks. If I make enough for lunch and there is plenty left over, guess what? We're going to dress it up and we're going to have it for dinner too. So this is just several cups of shredded cheese being melted into that. The sour cream kind of acted as the sauce. But if you don't like sour cream, then I definitely don't recommend doing this. But it was really, really good. And if you add any kind of meat or vegetables to it, all the better. And obviously, a big part of my day is changing diapers. But I choose to look at this time as just snuggle time, because afterwards, he's usually just so happy. And I just adore. I know this is a small season of my life. And then, of course, what happens and what comes with the territory with cooking from scratch and being home most of the day is dishes. I don't even try to have an empty sink until the end of the day when I'm going to bed, if that anymore, because I just go through everything round and round and round. It is a never-ending cycle. But, I saw something online the other day, and I am grateful to have food in the house to serve to my family, and I'm thankful to have my family to serve food too. And I honestly don't mind the dishes anymore, which is weird because I've always hated doing dishes. Ask my parents. But I get to look out that window and see the chickens. I get to see my garden. Sometimes when the weather is actually nice, I can see my kids playing. You know, it's really not that bad. And so I've decided to try some sourdough, but I'm going to do it with a little bit of a twist today. This is a good active sourdough starter if you have not seen one. And you can see it exploded over my jar. So it's actually on its way down, but it still works very well. When I pour it into the water, it floats, so it is still good to go. And I actually poured a little too much, and it's not like I can take it back out, so I just kind of went with it. So here I'm actually adding beet powder. If you've seen in my previous videos, I love to add things like this just for added nutrition and to sneak it in however I can. This made it a little tricky, and you'll see why later. Well, because of the clumps in it, you'll see me kind of popping them as I go when I'm doing a stretch and fold or anything like that throughout the day. But it's a interesting color. And when I did that with the sourdough crackers, the color usually bakes out of it. And so here I'm just using the remainder again of freshly milled flour. And so again, I'm kind of tweaking this recipe, and then I'm just going to use the rest of what I need, just all purpose. And this dough did come out kind of wonky for me. You'll see it was a very wet, sticky dough, but I made it work. And this was actually super, super delicious. And it was actually, it retained a good amount of its color. So this dough is definitely a lot wetter than I would like, but I did use a good amount of the freshly milled flour, and it does absorb some of the moisture, but you'll see that when I do the stretch and fold. So after that, I'm taking a little bit of time to kind of tend to my plants. This is one of my favorite times, just kind of checking in on my little green babies, taking off their old leaves. Now that they have true leaves, I've already up potted quite a bit of them, as you'll see. And I have my microgreens off to the left. I don't know. There's something about growing plants from seeds and growing my own food that is such joy for me. And having this opportunity and showing the kids how to do it, teaching them, and them just growing up with this as normal means so much to me. So what I'm noticing here is that my plants are actually going really, really fast, so I had to adjust the lights. That bottom tray is mustard, and it is not doing so well. That is my first time with mustard, and I don't think I'll be doing it again. But those were some old seeds, so that's what you get. So here's the stretch and fold with that sourdough beet dough, and I'm definitely leaving the thing on, the faucet, because I need to keep wetting my hands. You'll see just how wet and sticky this dough is. It actually kind of starts falling apart in my hands, like right there. So I do way more than probably normal for my stretch and folds. I just kind of keep going until it starts to give me a little bit more resistance. And then I do attempt to put it back into a little bit of and there's me popping that beet powder right there. I do try to put it back into a little bit of a ball so that it has any kind of tension on it. And I think I did about 5 or 6 rounds of stretch and folds for that particular dough. And then, such is life of a homemaker, laundry. My 2 boys and my oldest daughter basically do their own laundry. My boys do it with some oversight and coaching, but my 2 youngest obviously do not. This sourdough I took out of the fridge so that we could have some for snacks and for dinner. I think had been in the fridge probably 3 days by now. And my daughter just bringing my youngest over to kind of watch. She's really good with him like that, and he just likes to be carted around. I guess that's what, when you're the baby of the family, what happens. And that's just my little design there, and I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. I'm going through my boys' clothes to get out the ones that no longer fit them, put them into storage under their bed, waiting for my youngest to need them because with large families, you don't throw out clothes. You don't give them away unless you really don't think you're going to use them again, which we did with our last one, and here we are again. Just goes to show that you really have no clue what life has in store for you. So you'll notice I have these little white bins. I have 3 on the bottom on the floor and 2 on the top, because when I was very pregnant with my last child, I could not bend over, as most women cannot towards the end of their pregnancy. And I needed a system in place so that they could do their own laundry, and they are able to sort their own clothes generally. I just felt like doing it for them on this day.
That red one?
Okay, here.
It was my daughter's and my birthday, my little 3-year-old now there. It was our birthday on Monday, the 26th, and this was one of her birthday gifts from Grandma and Grandpa, which is a little train that lays dominoes. So my husband got off work and decided to see how it works, and the boys just absolutely had a blast with it, as you can see. So one of the other things that I do, and I know I'm adding laundry to meat cloth diapering, and now I don't use paper towels. What? I know. Someone that has a bunch of kids doesn't use paper towels. No, I actually prefer to not have a lot of waste. So again, cloth diapers, doing a lot of towels in the kitchen. I even have cloth napkins, that kind of stuff. It's just amazing. So this is what my experiment looks like. It is sticky. It is not fun to work with. I am not enjoying this, but it really did come out well. I'm going to do it again, and I'll probably just finagle the recipe just a little bit more. And once I get it down to a manageable, I don't know what you would call it. Once I get it better, then I will post it on the blog and let you guys know. And this is after its second rise. We scored it, and we're going to put it in the oven. And yeah, my daughter just loves to help. She loves to be there with us. So you'll notice on the left-hand side of the stove, I am finishing up some elderberry syrup. We actually ended up turning those into gummies, because that one on the pot only had elderberry, cinnamon, and rose hips in it. It was not my normal recipe. And so I always like to put butter on top of my sandwich loaf bread, because it just makes it so soft and so much more delicious. If that's even possible, yes, I know. But I highly recommend this. If you don't do this, you need to try. You can either melt the butter and then use a little brush to brush it on, or you can do it how I'm doing, which creates less mess, less dishes, and I am all for that. Let me know in the comments if you have any tips or tricks for your bread making, and also remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.